In this video, I'm going to share the quote unquote secret to my land investing success, or how I turned $7,000 into a seven-figure business in under 24 months. It took me about 2 years, almost on the dart, to go from brand spanking new in the land business, started with $7,000 and turn that into something much more. And I think during that process, I've gleaned a ton of insights that I want to share in this video. Also, I've helped hundreds of other people do the same thing. And through that, we started to kind of unthread some really, really cool takeaways that I think, frankly, are going to be really valuable to you. Okay. If you guys don't know who I am, my name's Sumner Healey. I have been land investing since 2019. I run a coaching program called LIA, or at landinvestor.co. We've helped over about 200 people at this point in the last 12 months build 6- and 7-figure land investing businesses. We'll talk more about that. Anyways, let's dive into it. This has kind of been an interesting theme for these previous videos. I just get this inspiration, I throw it onto a Google Doc, and then I record my screen. So I don't know if you guys like these. That's just how it's been going lately. All right, guys, let's crack into it. Before we do, though, let's address the elephant in the room. Let's address the problem. And the problem is, frankly, most land investors, they don't have a true business. In fact, they don't really have any business. More times than not, they're going to be what we call a deal maker, right? They're in this kind of hand-to-hand combat in their business. They're doing all the things. They do some deals here, some deals there, a deal like this, a deal like that. They do anything they really can to convert leads into revenue. And that initially feels like the right thing to do, right? Because I've got these leads, I'm going to try to make money for them by any means necessary. The problem is, what got you here won't get you there kind of thing, right? It's okay to start as a deal maker. You don't want to live in that deal maker arena. And frankly, in this industry, there's an incredible opportunity. Like the opportunity that we have as land investors getting involved right now is a very, very special time. This business is still very much in its infancy. And if you fast forward the clocks 10 years from now and you watch this video, you're going to say, damn, I wish I started then, or how things have changed, right? I like to think like wholesaling, that's pretty popular nowadays, right? Imagine starting to wholesale houses in the 90s, maybe the 80s. It's very much what land is like now. There's a big, big, big cash grab going on that I think is going to last another couple of decades. Then the business is going to get more sophisticated. You'll have to be just a better operator. You'll have to be a lot more intelligent with your marketing. It'll still work. Just the threshold or the barrier to entry will be a little bit higher for what is going to make you successful. But right now, it's like the getting's good, the taking's easy, right? And so what I see with a lot of land investors is like, while there's this immense opportunity, most of them just are inconsistent in their revenue, inconsistent in their business, don't really know what they should be working on. They're doing a little bit of this, doing a little bit of that. And in my opinion, I think like the ultimate detriment to that is beyond just like the monetary side of things. You are the linchpin in your business, right? If you are in that deal maker stage and you stop being the deal maker, who's going to make the deals? You're out, right? The whole business, quotes, relies on you. And that's a problem. You don't really have a business. More than anything, what you have is kind of a glorified self-created job. And what I've seen is that if you're really good at being a deal maker, you can make good money, right? $250,000 or so, maybe a little bit more, depending what kind of deals you're going after. But the trouble is, every person that I've talked to in the last couple of years, like the key thing is, Sumner, I want a life by design. I want a life of freedom. And frankly, that's why I got into this whole thing, right? And not even just land, but entrepreneurship in general. I remember having this vision as a kid. I remember being, 10 or 12. I was watching a movie with my mom. I will never forget, there's a scene in the movie. I can't tell you what movie it is, but there's a scene in the movie where this guy on a Tuesday, something like that, generic weekday, decides to go take a flight to Italy. I just thought, fuck, if I could do that, oh man, the world would be my oyster, right? Like if I could have that level of autonomy, oh my God. And there's two different forks in the road I saw of how to get that. You can either essentially be a dirtbag and kind of bum it up and hitch rides on trains and have no responsibilities and you just be a vagabonder. I thought about that. Or you can build a business, you can create leverage, you can build a system or a machine that works with or without your involvement. That gives you freedom. Right? I'm not going to do it in a job. I'm not going to be doing it by being in the middle. I either got to be an outlier on the bottom end or an outlier on the top end. And I decided I'm going to make my life's work, this journey of trying to climb this mountain on the top end. And business has kind of been that arena for me, of that mountain I've started climbing. I've been climbing for a while now. So anyways, long way of just saying, I think that we're all in this for similar reasons, autonomy and freedom. And that doesn't come just by making money. It's about how that money is made. Can you make money without you being there? If you can, all right, you're on the right track. If you can't, it's time to reassess. And I hope this video will help you do that. Okay. But look, the truth is, like I said before, it really does not have to be this way. It's worth repeating. If building a business with uncapped earning potential is of interest to you, you're not late to the party. Okay. I tell you what, there's always a second seat at the table when there's big movements, when there's big inflection points. Land is an inflection point. Why? Well, now we finally have tools available to us and the data available to us to make this business work. 20, 30, 40 years ago, there were folks doing land. Like, this business isn't brand new. It was just way, way harder, way harder. I mean, the lack of data even nowadays can be tricky. Back then, there was no transparency. There was really very, very difficult to tap into any databases that we now have access to today. Okay. So you're not late. Number one, right? If you're just getting started, don't worry. Good things are still on the horizon. And two, there's a playbook out there that you guys can emulate for building a business that provides uncapped earnings, but also provides autonomy and a really, really cool lifestyle. Okay. I think I said this in previous videos. I got to say it again. I know a few different things in the land business. Look, there's a lot of people that have helped pave the way for me. I've taken bits and pieces of experiences and coaching and mentoring, both in land and in adjacent opportunities, that have kind of given me the insight that I have into the land business and has allowed me to create the business that I've created and has allowed me help to do that for others. I don't want to pretend like I've created all of this from scratch, or it's just like some immaculate conception of an idea in my head that I got one day. No, this has been trial by fire, and this has taken a village to figure out the playbook that works here. Okay. And I don't claim to be the best land investor. In fact, frankly, I think I'm a pretty bad land investor. Like, you ask me a lot of nitty gritty questions about land, I probably don't know them. But what I think I'm really good at is getting businesses or ideas down to first principles and working off of that, and building teams and looking at things from a very systematic perspective. I think that's my gift. If I wasn't doing land, I'd be doing some other business, right? The actual subject matter of what we sell doesn't really matter to me. I just happen to think that the world that we play in land is really fascinating. It's a bit like the wild, wild west right now. I just think there's just a lot of opportunity here, but I do not claim to be the best land investor, to know it all, to be the most successful land investor. I just think I've kind of isolated one little corner of the market that I know how to do really well. And that's taking people from the ground zero to six figures in 12 months or less, and helping them build a business that provides that autonomy and that freedom, and getting them to seven figures their second year or third year, right? We've got many folks that have hit six figures their first year with us just in the last couple of months. We'll talk about that as we get deeper in there. We've got some folks that are just crossing over their second year with us, moving into that seven-figure territory. We'll also talk about that later. I think that's the area that I'm really good at. But if you want to ask me about entitling land and doing this crazy rezoning and selling it off to developers, not my thing. Okay. So you're like, Sumner, why is this random photo of you in here? Well, I'm a big visual guy. I think this helps paint a story. I'll tell you guys a quick story. I was in this photo. I was down south in Colombia. This was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Got in back of this van. We drove down almost to the border of the Amazon rainforest, not quite at the Amazon rainforest, but in that general territory. This area used to be overrun by gorillas just about a decade ago. This place, no one could go there, not even locals, let alone Westerners or anything like that. It was like a gorilla compound. It's cleaned up a lot now. There's a little town called San Francisco that's beautiful that used to be a gorilla compound. And so we pull into town in the back of this van. We got a bunch of people with us. All my friends are with us, a couple tour guides. And we go and blow up a bunch of rafts, and we did this crazy long 5-mile hike, but it was 5 miles, just crazy steep. I mean, we probably declined 2,000 plus feet down into this valley, and down on that hike, it was just muddy and slippery and super steep. And I was wearing Teva sandals, and there's so much mud under my sandal. My feet felt like they were on ice. So there was like mud on the bottom of my sandal and then mud in my feet. And so I was like, sliding all around. So I ended up having to take my shoes off halfway through the hike and did it barefoot for the rest of it. It's just a crazy landscape, like rock crawling, super steep. I'm sliding out. And we finally get down to the bottom, down by this river. It's the only undammed river in Colombia. So all the other rivers have been dammed up for hydropower. This is the only untouched, very, very preserved, very raw and wild area. I mean, you don't see anyone down there. No one. So cool. So we get down there, slice up some watermelon, have some fruit, have these really, really good passion fruit, like gummy chews. And then we load up and go whitewater rafting for like 8 hours. We whitewater rafted, I think a little over 20 miles, and then stopped off at this little cafe in the jungle, and then had a shuttle another like 5 hours back home. And I tell you all this because to me, this is the stuff that I want to spend my time doing, right? And this wasn't a weekend. This wasn't a special occasion. This was just a weekday. And I think that this photo here, while it looks irrelevant looking at it right now, it tells a story. And that's a story of a guy that's living his dreams, but also a story of a guy that's built something that allows him to do stuff like this, no matter what the day is, no matter what the week is, no matter what the event is, right? I want that for everyone, because I think that experiences like that are worth way more than any amount of money in your bank account, right? Again, it's not just about making a certain amount of money. It's how is that money delivered to you? And I'm really, really passionate about building businesses that can provide a life like that, because frankly, life is too short to not do the stuff that lights you on fire, right? And this is the stuff that I love. This is adventure. Anyways, cool photo before we started off on the trip. All right, let's talk about the talking points here. I'm a visual guy. You'll see some photos sprinkled in through here. So I'm going to start breaking down kind of the secret to my success, if you will, and how I went from, again, $7,000 to seven figures in 24 months. And we've just kind of continued to grow from there. I think one thing that's really important to note is what I call the hidden time variable. You see, I tell you that little shtick, or essentially 0 to 7 figures in 24 months. And that sounds like a really cool soundbite. And hey, it got you to click on the video, or it got you watching the video. And there's a lot of truth to that. Those numbers aren't fudged. But what you don't see is the decade prior to that, right? Everything building up in my life leading up to this point, that when I got to the opportunity of getting into land, I had already built a really solid footing for building businesses, right? This was probably my 5th business at that point. And I think I was 24, 25. And so all of that kind of leads up to this crescendo where, yes, I was new to land, but there's a whole saga before that, right? I started a photography business in high school. And way before that, I was doing weird things, selling candy on the schoolyard and having garage sales every weekend and lemonade stands, all that classic story, right? In high school, I started a photography business taking photos for realtors. And I would sell those same photos to the realtor, to the architect, and to the contractor. And these were like $20+ million homes. So there was like a whole big multiple teams working on it, and take one photo and sell it off to 3 different people. So I started doing that in high school, make a couple $1,000s every shoot that we did. And then later towards the end of my high school, I actually started a like penny stock pump and dump setup. I think it was legal, but it was very much in a gray area. And we were running Facebook ads and building up our email list, and then talking about stocks in those email lists. And those companies had like press releases that they pay us to talk about. Got out of that because it seemed pretty shady. Frankly, some of the characters we were working with were very shady. And I was, 17 at the time, working with these 40-year-old fat cats out in New York. This was like Wolf of Wall Street stuff. Like, these guys weren't on Wall Street. They're like Wall Street adjacent, so the shady part of Wall Street. And then went off to college, dropped out of college, started a textbook business, scaled it up. We were selling hundreds of books a month. Then started a gym in San Diego, and on and on and on again, right? I mean, I had so many of these experiences that when I came into land, while I knew nothing about direct mail or picking markets or anything land related, I had a pretty solid primer on building businesses. And so I want you to understand that, right? Hopefully what you're doing now in land, what you've done in the past, hopefully it aids you to some capacity, right? I think a lot of times we can draw on previous experiences that we can bring to the table that give us a unique edge. And I think I had a unique edge, but I don't think I'm alone in that, right? It doesn't just have to be building businesses, being an entrepreneur. I want you to think back at what skills you've developed in previous times that you can use as an edge when you come into this world, okay? If you're brand spanking new, you're 18 years old, you've never done anything business related, cool, that's okay too. This is going to be your primer. This is going to be you kind of starting with a clean slate. But most of us that are watching this video now, there's probably a much bigger journey behind us that's going to help kind of aid in this. And there's a lot of different components to building a land investing business. I think some of the best education we can get is not always when it's just specific to the thing that we're doing. I think I love collecting information that's like a few degrees adjacent to whatever it is that we're actually doing. And so also, just for context, when you hear my story, understanding there's just a huge time period that goes way before this that was all leading up to this point. Now, frankly, this little table here, I think is pretty funny. This effort versus time table, doesn't really fully portray the story here for my journey, but it shows you that there's going to be a lot going into it. So while some of you guys are starting down here, I might have started a little bit closer to up here getting into my land business. And that was because all this previous experience helped get me a little closer to the top. And so once I was 6 months in, a year in, I started to actually gain momentum. And I was going down the backside of it. And it's like this little snowball building up momentum, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that wasn't me starting down here. It was me starting closer to up here. Okay. All right. Eyes on the prize. I think this is a pretty funny representation of what it feels like to have your eyes on the prize. And when you really are glued into what the outcome is that you're shooting for, you start to feel like this, a cat on cocaine or something. I don't know what's going on in this image, but I didn't come into the land business to become a successful land investor. Like, to me, that's not a compelling why. And I think that if you're coming into this, understand no matter what your previous history is, right? No matter if you've got a leg up on competition or you don't, this is going to be hard. There's just no way around it. Like, this stuff is tricky. There's going to be friction. Building any business is tricky. You're literally bending reality to your will. That's tough. No matter what industry you're in, right? That's really, really difficult. And I think if you want to create anything of meaning in this world, be prepared to get your teeth kicked in. It's not easy. And so if your goal is just to be a good land investor or just to make money, I don't think that's a compelling enough why. One of the things that I had as a blessing and a curse coming into this business is I had so much clarity on why I was doing this. It had nothing to do with land. I'll tell you guys a quick diatribe and I'll try to get us back on track. But for me, for better or worse, my self-worth was on the line. Like, I never really had hobbies or things that I was great at. Business was the only thing that I was really good at or liked or was passionate about. And so while my friends were, getting full rides to go play soccer at school, or they're getting their degree in science or whatever it may be, they had their outlets. For me, my outlet was building businesses. And that's definitely weird. And I caught a lot of flack for it because people interpret that as, oh, you're just greedy, or oh, you just want to make money. And that certainly wasn't the case. I just liked the art of building businesses. Now, of course, there was definitely a yearning to make money. I mean, that's important. We all need some level of money. And I think the freedom component was important as well. But to me, this was my art. And up until that point, like I said, I'd run, call it 5 businesses previously, but a lot of them would fizzle out. Like, I would get so far and then I'd realize, A, this isn't the opportunity for me. I don't really like what I'm doing here. I don't feel like it aligns with me, or I just didn't feel like it was the vehicle to take me to where I wanted to go. And when I got into land, I felt it. Like, I knew this was it. I'm going to make this my thing because I want to show my parents and my family and the world that I can do this and I can be a business builder. And this is the vehicle that I want to take to get me there. And so frankly, my self-worth was on the line, like me as a person, me feeling worthy as a person. And again, you could definitely misconstrue that and say it's all bad. Whatever it is, having a ton of clarity on why you're even doing this is so important. I want you to dig deep. I want you to think beyond just to put food on the table or just to make money. All right. But I think the more you can have clarity on like the first principle of your why, not that surface level, right? So if the thing is, I want to make money, ask yourself why, then ask yourself why again, and why again, and why again, and why again, until you get to that root, and hold that near and dear to your heart. Because when things get tough, you're going to lean on that and you're going to draw an unlimited amount of inspiration and willpower from that understanding of why it is that you're even doing this. Okay. It's like the Stoics would talk about, understand that people are going to be rude. People are going to spit in your face. There's going to be problems. There's going to be days that you want to give up. Expect that. It's not an if, it's the most definite. So we come to expect that, and we get really clear on why we're here, and we hold that near and dear to our heart when things get tough. And I think I was given a huge leg up, a huge edge by having a ton of clarity around that. Okay. So to go back to it, timelines, my timeline's longer than 24 months. 2, I actually knew what my why was. And I swear this isn't going to be just fluffy mindset stuff. We'll get into the tactics here shortly. All right. Number 3, copy and paste. Okay. When I got into this business, I knew that I wasn't going to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of different educators out there. There's a lot of different ways to make money in the land space. There's like the land geek model, owner financing properties, people talking about subdividing. There's people talking about doing cash flips. So there's all this different little micro businesses within the business of land investing. And so I started kind of tasting the rainbow and trying to copy and paste different people's businesses into my business. And frankly, none of them really resonated. I took bits and pieces from them. But I think the takeaway for you guys here is that you need to find a model that you want to emulate. Don't think that this business is just a matter of sending out some mail and buying some land. It's not. I can promise you, you will get your lunch eaten if that's what you think this business is, right? You need to clearly define what the actual edge is that you're going to take advantage of. For example, if you look at my business today, really what we are is we're a rural recreational buyer, buy rural recreational land, 3 to 5 hours outside of major metro areas. We use texting to generate leads. We follow up with mail. We have a whole cadence through there. And our edge is that we really know the markets we work in, and we really know the asset class that we go after. And because we just go after one kind of asset, we've created these very smooth systems in our business that allow us to throw that kind of property onto our conveyor belt. And 6 months later, cash hits our bank account. And it's just like this rinse and repeat. What you don't want to do is, again, initially taste the rainbow, try a few different things. But what you don't want to do is have this hodgepodge deal making business where you're doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because you can never systematize that, right? If you're owner financing infill lots and then you're double closing another infill lot and then you're assigning a rural recreational property and you're trying to do a subdivider and then you're trying to entitle this property, you can make money. But that's never going to be a repeatable system, right? I think if you look at the folks inside Leah, what they've done is they've just come and copied and pasted our business model. They say, I like Sumner's business model. I like what he does. I like what he preaches. I like the model of actually building a business. I want to just emulate that. And I think that's why our members just get gangbuster results compared to industry norms, or just compared to someone trying to do it on their own. They've admitted to themselves that I'm not going to try to like reinvent something that doesn't need reinventing. I will find a model that resonates with me. I will copy it. I will paste it into my own business and good things will happen, right? If you guys want to do that for yourself, landinvestor.co/apply. If you want to talk to the team and I and learn more about our model and how you can copy and paste it. Doesn't have to be us, could be anyone else. I think the key takeaway though is that you just put your creativity on the sidelines temporarily. What I usually tell our members is, surrender to the system. We even printed t-shirts for this, right? You come in, you surrender to the system. The first year is no time to get cute. You surrender, you just mimic, you copy. And usually a year in, you'll start to kind of flush out what pieces that you really like and maybe doubling down on that. We're going to talk about that coming up here. I just think going through, these are just like recent kind of case studies from like the last 48 hours or so that I think are really cool to go over. So these are all folks inside Leah. Here's Michael Bull finishing out a double close that I thought we were going to have to cancel. We'll net 20K. Bought a deal in our favorite market, buy up for 7,500, sell for 39K. Previous title issues on a buy for 20K, sell for 80K, might get cleared up so we can purchase it. Got back 3 signed purchase agreements today. How is Mike able to do that? He's so specific on the business that he's in. He just emulated our business, added his own little sauce to it about a year and a half in, and has just doubled down on that, right? Mike's business is just a great one to study, because he's got the most boring business. And that's what we should be going after, right? It's a very, very boring business that can deliver results like that on a weekly basis, right? That just isn't out of the norm. Those are just normal week in, week out results. Here's Dennis, Mr. Dennis Yasko. So as you guys have seen him inside the 90-day challenge, again, plug and play into our rural recreational model. Just got a property cleared, is going to be listed this week. Pretty stoked. This is our first actual land deal. So it's the first deal that they're getting listed right now in the market. Buy for $61,000. They put $8,000 into it for clearing. Total of $69K with closing. We are listing this at $130,000. Should exit around $140K. So stoked. We closed on another 7-acre property last week, getting the easement cleared and listed in 2 weeks. That's a buy for $13.5K. Total entry of $19K. We'll list this for $60 and should sell for $65,000. Awesome. Here's Mike Petrello. Got a double close going through. Closing now. Was listed for 8 days before we got a buyer. Buy for $21,000, sell for $37.5. This is a double close. They didn't put cash into the deal. They got the contract. They marketed the contract. They connected the buyer. It's a strategy that we've been using a ton inside Leah. Callan finally received an offer on my first flip since joining Leah. I bought this 2 months ago, and it was in a slow moving market for my first mailer ever. It was a buy for $1,000 and sell for $15,000. It'll be closing in 3 weeks. And I just got a double close purchase agreement signed. It's listed with an agent as of 2 days ago. Purchase price will be $15K and projected sales between $30,000 and $40,000. Super, super awesome. And then he goes and shares a lesson here. Callan's really interesting. Like, he actually watched one of our YouTube videos, commented on it. It was like, hey man, I'm trying to make this business work in Canada. I got a deal through PPC, but I haven't been able to repeat that deal. I was like, Callan, okay, you're like headed in the right direction. I love the fact that you're interested in land. Stop trying to flip land in Canada. Come and just mimic our system. And sure enough, boom, just the results start to unfold, right? Could you do this in a different country? Sure. But is the model proven here? Yes. Could you try to do some weird, intricate, cute little stuff inside land? For sure. And maybe down the line that makes sense. But now you copy and you paste. If getting results is important to your why, right? Like, if your why has results connected to it, you need to start just copying and pasting. Okay. Eventually you can iterate and you can mold it to meet your standards. Or really what I think should happen is, like, you come in, you copy and paste our conveyor belt system for land investing. Boom, copy and paste it. Okay. You start throwing on that one kind of property into that conveyor belt. You build the team, you build the systems, reliably every 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever it is, property goes on, it sells, cash hits the bank account. Eventually what you can do is you can keep that conveyor belt in place, and then you can build a new conveyor belt for a new process in your business. So in our business, we've got four different conveyor belts, really. We've got our conveyor belt for our standard cash flips, rural recreational cash flips. We've got our conveyor belt for owner finance properties. We do small dollar subdivision owner finance properties. We get about $25K a month of recurring revenue from those owner finance properties. Then we recently built out a subdividing kind of conveyor belt in our business. And we've got a double closed conveyor belt that we just built out recently in our business as well. All of those could only exist because we had one conveyor belt that was perfected and worked and gave us liquidity to give us options to go and experiment with other areas in our business. But you don't want to experiment and try to juggle all those balls at once, okay? This is a super cool story. Alec, he joined us in January. My net profit from the land business has surpassed my W-2 salary. Started in January of this year, thanks to everyone in this community who's taking time out of their day to help another member out. How awesome, man. How awesome. Yeah, come on. Alec is literally the perfect poster child of coming in and emulating and replicating and just doing the thing, right? It's as simple as saying, this is what the program says to do. You just go and do it, and good things happen if you give it enough time, right? Imagine replacing your entire W-2 income in 6 months. In your first 6 months in the land business, Alex started building a team. He started hiring the right people. Good things are happening. Fast forward 2024, I think he'll probably do $500,000 plus. And then I think 2025, he'll be at 7 figures. And Alec doesn't work at like a convenience store. Like high paying W-2, was working a ton of overtime to bump up his salary. I think this is a badass story. I think if I polled our Leah members, most of them are in a similar position of saying, Sumner, I've got this high paying W-2. I want out of it. I want freedom. I want to be with my family. I want uncapped earning potential. And frankly, if land's going to deliver that to me, bring it on. But they're not like land junkies. It's not like I stay up every night thinking about land. This is just a really cool opportunity. And there's a guy out there named Sumner who's just saying, take this model, run with it, implement it like an operating system, like put it onto your computer and just build out this land cash printing machine. Pretty cool, honestly, pretty cool. This is an awesome one. Mr. Rylan Loader, about to leave Miami to backpack Europe and run the biz. Portable dual monitor is dialed in. I'll call this a win. I have no idea why he's got like a scientific calculator down in the bottom left. I don't really know what he's using that for in his land business, but Rylan's backpacking through Europe. He's in Italy right now. Before that, he was camping for a month up in Mount Shasta. Then he was down in San Diego. He's in Northern California. The guy has just taken his business on the road with him. And Rylan's one of those guys that will kiss 7 figures this year, his second year in the land business, but he's still doing it in a way that's awesome, right? It's like one thing if you go and you're miserable sitting at home grinding it out 12 hours a day to make the same amount of money that someone's backpacking through Europe. It's like, which one are you going to take? I'm going to take the latter, right? And that's available to everyone. Like Rylan's not special. I'm not special. Any of the people that I just showed here are not special. They just copied and pasted and put their ego to the side temporarily. Okay, your ego can come back. But right now, if you're just getting started, or if you've been in the game and you don't like the results you have, put it to the side. Copy and paste, okay? Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Homer Simpson knows. So, talking about like, when do you start kind of putting your own flavor on things? Well, I'll tell you when. When you build up a backlog of 12 months of KPIs in your business, and you go do an 80-20 analysis on your KPIs, and then you start to flesh out what's bringing home the bacon, and you do more of that in terms of the markets you work in terms of the property types, in terms of the price points, in terms of the exit strategies. This is exactly what I did. My first year in the land business, I was mimicking and trying everyone's strategies. And I was just a fly on the wall. Like I didn't even go through a lot of these people's programs. I just absorbed every piece of content these people would put out. I was in everyone's free group, just like a weirdo watching. And I tried everyone's strategy for the most part. And within that 1 year period, come December, I went back and reflected on my KPIs and I said, what brought home the bacon? I'm like, this owner finance stuff is cool, but I'm not going to get to where I want to go anytime soon. Nah, ixnay that. Okay, this infill stuff, annoying. Hate the due diligence there. Nah. But these markets and this property type and these price points, and literally when you do this Pareto principles, 80-20 analysis on your business, it's almost like clockwork. In fact, sometimes it's more like 90-10, where it's like 10% of the deals brought home 90% of the results. So do more of that. Okay. So what happens is a lot of the Leah members, they go through, they mimic our strategy and then reflect 12 months in. And they say, okay, let me go through, and you'll find some common denominators of what was really driving the results. To go back here, I think this is actually an interesting thing that most people would pass on, but it says bought a deal in our favorite market, buy for 7,500, sell for 39,000. Why was he able to get such a good deal? Because he knows that market like the back of his hand. I know exactly what market he's talking about. And this market has consistently produced six figures a year from him every year he's been in the business, like clockwork. That one market, because he knows it so well and has such a huge database of leads, both on the acquisition side and the disposition side. And he's got the vertical integrated resources like realtors, title companies, all that stuff that make it a cinch. That property, he sold it like a day later because, again, all those resources kind of compound in your favor. This business is really hard if you're always starting over, trying a new strategy, trying a new market, this, that. So you can do what I did. You can come in and try to mimic everyone's strategy and then, look at the end of the year and say, okay, where am I? Or you can just copy and paste our systems and hit the fast track button and just run with the Leah systems and take that to seven figures plus. Will it get you past that? I don't know. No one's done it. I haven't done it yet. No one's making eight figures a year. It might work, but I can guarantee you this can get you to low millions net in your business very reliably in a really, really kind of hands-off fashion. And that's awesome. That, to me, that's way more impressive than just like making a boatload of money. And so, yeah, numbers don't lie, right? When I got to that year point in my business, I went through and kind of like made the strategy, made them compete against each other to figure out which one was the winner. And I took that and I ran with that. But I didn't just ignore the data that I had from those other strategies. I took the threads, the little pieces that did work, and I implemented it into what now is Leah, right? And Leah is just like an amalgamation of all these different strategies, all these different little pieces that I found have worked. And we've just married them together to build this really, really powerful way of building land businesses. And so don't make it off of like what your hunch or like what felt good. Like, sure, you could do that in the beginning, like the person that resonates or the message that resonates, or the strategy that resonates. Okay, cool. All you really have at that point is a gut instinct to go off of. So sure, use that. But if you're doing deals, let the data tell you what's bringing home the bacon and just do more of that. It's that simple. Adding fuel to the fire. All right. So I get to that 1 year mark in my business, right? I go through, I look at the KPIs, let the KPIs tell me what's working, what's not working. All right. We figure out what's working. I said, we're moving into 2021. We're going to do more of that. You know what I did at the beginning of 2021? I scaled our marketing. So I ramped our marketing. We tripled our marketing for the kinds of properties that my 80-20 analysis told me to go after. Ramp that up. Same for the market, same for the properties. There was still a lot of things I was doing wrong. Like I mailed a third of Colorado in one go. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that I was like not well versed at. And so like some of the technicalities still took me longer to learn, but the general principles of what I was going after, the kinds of deals I was going to say yes or no to, my buy box, if you will, was really, really clarified. So I knew the strategies, the kind of marketing that we were going to use to get those deals. So we scaled marketing, we tripled our marketing. And then I said, okay, we need fuel to the fire, which is going to be marketing, is going to be capital. I can self-fund the marketing. I certainly, if we scale marketing 3x, I can't self-fund my deals. And that's what I was doing in the beginning, right? Self-funding all my deals. So to grow my land business was just a byproduct of scaling our marketing. And I said, okay, cool, I can afford that, but I can't fund these deals myself. So I started having to go find capital to fund our deals. And so in that first quarter of 2021, I started going and finding capital. And that is how we went gangbusters, with scaling marketing and bringing in more money. If you think about it, your first year in this business should be building the machinery, right? You're building, imagine like this weird, like vacuum looking machine. And what you do is you stuff capital into it. Okay. You stuff capital in marketing, property acquisitions. And if you've built an efficient little machine, go diddy doodad, money will fly out at a multiple. So in our business, marketing usually brings us about a 10x multiple, right? Properties, I think we average like 117% a return on our properties. Cool. So once we've built that efficient system, it's about just getting more capital into that machine. It's not so much about trying to make it more efficient. I mean, that's, I guess, important to some extent. And you can make subtle kind of efficiency bumps over time, but it's really just an equation of stuffing more into it, right? And you'll run into issues where like the machine can't handle more capital. So you got to build a more robust machine, a more reliable machine. But it's really just becomes that equation. Like once you've figured it out, it's just more capital in the form of marketing and acquisitions. And that's it. That's my whole story, like summed up. That's it. That is everything in a nutshell. I hope that resonated. Hopefully that helps you. If you guys want to copy and paste our entire business and scale to six figures in your first 12 months, scale to seven figures beyond that, landinvestor.co/apply. Come talk to the team and I will lay out the exact system, the exact strategy that we use. And you can either take it and run with it, or you can work with us lockstep, myself, the Leah coaches, the rest of the community, and build something really, really special with us. I hope this resonated. Much love, guys. Take care.